It begins with breaking news flashing across television screens. Standoff at Second Thomas Shoal. Anchors announce, their voices urgent and grave. The world's attention snaps to the West Philippine Sea, where rival vessels drift in a tense, dangerous dance. Cameras zoom in on Filipino supply ships, flanked by the steadfast Philippine Coast Guard. Across the gentle waves, the larger Chinese ships loom, white hulls gleaming, red flags snapping in the wind. As the headlines scroll, families in Manila hold their breath. The tension is more than national pride, it is about lives and sovereignty. Out at sea, every move is watched and recorded. The world waits for the next escalation. A single wrong turn could trigger disaster. Social media explodes. Clips of the confrontation trend worldwide. Governments issue statements urging calm, but nerves remain frayed. Diplomats brace for long nights ahead as the region edges closer to crisis. The scene is set. The latest chapter in a struggle that is as much about territory as it is about power, honor, and the future of Asia's seas. Dawn breaks over choppy waters. The Philippine convoy, a lifeline to the outpost on Second Thomas Shoal, moves slowly in formation. Their mission is simple but perilous: deliver food, water, and fuel to Filipino Marines stationed on a rusting ship, the BRP Sierra Madre. Each crew member knows the risks, but duty calls stronger than fear. Across the horizon, the silhouettes of Chinese Coast Guard ships appear. They form a loose blockade, engines rumbling and searchlights sweeping the sea. Their intent is clear: stop the Filipino vessels from completing their mission. The Chinese ships, larger and more numerous, cast long shadows over the smaller Filipino boats. Radio chatter fills the air. Filipino captains communicate with their Chinese counterparts, both sides asserting their rights. The tension is almost physical, felt in every heartbeat and every creak of the ships. At any moment things could spiral out of control. But the Filipino crews press on. Supplies must get through. Their resolve is as unyielding as the reefs beneath the waves, a testament to courage in the face of overwhelming odds. At the center of this drama stands an unlikely fortress, the BRP Sierra Madre. Once a World War II landing ship, it now lies grounded on the shallow reef of Second Thomas Shoal. Rusted and battered, it is held together by steel, wood, and the will of the Philippine Marines who call it home. For more than 2 decades, the Sierra Madre has served as a living symbol of the Philippines' claim. It is a physical reminder that Filipino presence endures, no matter the odds. Every resupply mission reinforces that message. The Philippines will not back down. Life aboard the Sierra Madre is harsh, space is cramped, and supplies are always limited. Yet, the Marines aboard remain vigilant and proud. Their resolve is fueled not only by patriotism, but also by the knowledge that they are on the front line of a larger struggle. From a distance, the ship may look abandoned, but up close, it is alive with activity and purpose. Each Filipino flag, hoisted high, sends a message: this reef is ours, and we are here to stay. As the Filipino convoy approaches the shoal, the Chinese ships move to intercept. Engines roar as the blockade tightens. The air is filled with warnings over loudspeakers. Each side claims the right to these waters. The atmosphere crackles with confrontation. Suddenly, jets of water arc through the air. Chinese Coast Guard crews unleash high-pressure water cannons, drenching Filipino boats and rocking them in the waves. The act is aggressive but calculated. It intimidates without causing deadly harm. Filipino sailors cling to rails, teeth gritted, refusing to turn back. Despite the soaking and damage, the Filipino crew presses on. Their boats shudder, but spirit does not break. They radio for help, document the attack, and keep steering toward the Sierra Madre. Every mile gained is a small victory against overwhelming odds. Watching from afar, the world sees not just a clash of ships, but a battle of resolve. The Filipinos, outgunned and outmanned, show the kind of bravery that defines nations. The Chinese, for all their might, hold back from using lethal force, careful not to ignite a wider war. This confrontation is not just about rocks and reefs. At stake is the very idea of a rules-based world order. In 2016, the Permanent Court of Arbitration in The Hague ruled in favor of the Philippines, invalidating China's sweeping claim over the South China Sea. The world recognizes the West Philippine Sea as part of Philippine territory. Yet, China refuses to accept the ruling. Their ships continue to patrol, build, and blockade. For the Philippines, every supply run is a stand for international law. For China, it is about projecting power and influence. Billions of dollars in trade pass through these waters every day. Oil tankers, cargo ships, and fishing vessels from dozens of countries rely on safe passage. Any conflict here could disrupt global commerce, driving up prices and creating chaos far beyond Asia. So, the world watches closely. The outcome of this standoff will shape not just the fate of a reef, but the rules that guide peace, cooperation, and prosperity for all. With overwhelming military strength, China could seize the Sierra Madre in just a few hours, yet Beijing stops short. Instead, it relies on intimidation and pressure. Why? Well, the answer is complex and rooted in politics, economics, and image. China's leaders know that open war would be disastrous, global trade would stall, and investors would flee. Sanctions and condemnation would follow, harming China's economy. The world's opinion really matters. China's reputation as a rising power depends on it. Diplomacy also plays a role. China seeks to influence neighbors, not alienate them. Aggression only strengthens alliances among its rivals, especially between the Philippines and the United States. A violent act could trigger the US-Philippines Defense Treaty, something China definitely wishes to avoid. So Beijing walks a tightrope. It flexes its muscles, but avoids the step that could turn a standoff into a shooting war. The game is one of nerves, patience, and calculated restraint. The US-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty looms large over every encounter in the West Philippine Sea. Signed in 1951, the treaty promises that an armed attack on either country in the Pacific will trigger joint defense actions. For the Philippines, it is both shield and deterrent. American warships regularly sail nearby. Their presence is a reminder. The Philippines is not alone. Training exercises, shared intelligence, and military aid underscore this partnership. In moments of crisis, US officials quickly voice support, warning China against further escalation. This alliance does more than boost morale. It changes the balance of power. China must always calculate the risk of facing not just Filipino Marines but also US forces. The possibility of great power conflict keeps tensions high but violence low. For now, the treaty is untested by war, but its very existence shapes every maneuver, every decision, and every hope for peace in these disputed waters. The battle in the West Philippine Sea rarely involves bullets or bombs. Instead, China employs gray zone tactics, actions that are aggressive, disruptive, but fall short of war. Water cannons replace gunfire, lasers and sirens harass crews, maritime militia boats swarm like bees, shadowing and crowding Filipino ships. These tactics create confusion and fear. They wear down the opposition without drawing international condemnation. Filipino sailors are constantly tested, both physically and mentally. The stress is relentless, like a storm that never ends. Psychological warfare is key. China wants to show dominance without crossing red lines. The message is clear: resistance is costly, submission is easy. For the Philippines, every successful mission becomes a small act of defiance, a signal that intimidation will not win. Gray zone tactics are the new normal. They challenge old ideas of conflict, requiring new strategies, alliances, and above all, resilience. The Philippines responds with transparency and restraint. Every confrontation is filmed and shared with the world. Diplomats work tirelessly, building coalitions and rallying support. The government stays calm, refusing to take the bait or escalate violence. This approach wins allies. Nations respect the Philippines for upholding the law and seeking peaceful solutions. Each victory is a reminder that real strength is measured not just in firepower, but in principles and perseverance. In the end, courage, restraint, and alliances shape the balance of power. The West Philippine Sea remains contested, but the Philippines stands tall, defiant, proud, and never alone. The true test of power lies not in who can start a war, but in who can prevent one. As the sun sets over the contested waters, hope remains. The world has seen the strength of those who choose peace, and the future depends on such choices, today and always.